Blizz, you're on notice. If in your next raid patch for Warlords of Draenor, you don't have at least one encounter that requires a class-specific ability, you're fired. What's up, everybody, and welcome to Aggathon's Rage Bar, episode lucky number 13, the show where you ask me questions and I drink delicious beverages. Today is our BlizzCon wrap-up part 2 with remedeez from blizzmaster.com. And also, before I get too much further, we're going to go with the drink of the week. This week is the Out of Bounds Stout by the Avery Brewing Company. I haven't had a whole lot from Avery, but every time I have one of their beers, it is absolutely amazing. And this stout doesn't disappoint. It is one of the smoother stouts I've had. We pretty much think of like a smooth stout that's not Guinness. This is what that tastes like. I don't know how to explain it other than just smooth, delicious stoutness. That hits the spot right there. Anyways, so this is going to be part 2 of the BlizzCon coverage, so this is the second episode of the week. So again, there will be no episodes next week, but send me your questions, fight with me, tell me why you think I'm wrong about why I think that 20-man raids are a good thing. And anything else we talk about on the show. We're going to talk about no flying in new old Outlands, Draenor. We're going to talk a little bit more about the new stats and reforging. We're going to talk about the new models. We're going to talk about raid bosses and tiers and how that looks like that's all shaking out. And finally, we're going to talk a lot about garrisons and how that is going to impact the game. And now joining me is remedeez from blizzmaster.com with her special guest. How are you?
Superman, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Got me a delicious beer, a great co-host, and we have Superman, so, what could possibly go wrong?
What could go wrong? A lot of things could go wrong with this.
So, first up on the docket, everyone is flipping shit about no flying in
Oh, Lord.
New Draenor. I don't understand why people are complaining. Do you understand why people are
I
complaining?
don't. I have no idea, but I'm going to chalk it up to everyone will find something to complain about, so it's no flying.
That's probably true. I mean, we didn't have flying in Mists of Pandaria, and we haven't had flying in Throne of Thunder or the Timeless Isle. So, and really, I thought that the Timeless Isle was eventually, like, as you did the quests, like, each quest was like, oh, go find this hippogriff. It can fly. If we can capture it, we can figure out how to fly on this island.
Right.
And then you still can't fly on the island.
Nope.
So I feel like that's a message from Blizz that's like, hey, you can't fly while you're doing the intro quests, okay? And so I just can't fathom why anyone is complaining about not being able to fly. And I happen to agree a lot with Blizzard's response on this. I saw a long blue post today. I think it was posted on MMO Champion. But it was like, look, you guys want flying because you think it's more efficient questing, but there's a reason why you can't fly in dungeons and raids. There's a reason why you can't fly in arenas and battlegrounds. It's because it significantly changes, like, combat engagements, and we don't want
Mhm.
that in questing.
Yeah, and you know, Blizzard spends a lot of time making the things that they make, and if you fly or if you're constantly flying, you're not going to notice all of the minute details that they put into everything. Just the way that the landscapes are made and everything is designed. You're going to miss a lot of that. Granted, not everybody pays attention to that kind of stuff, but people notice things even if you're not that observant. So,
Yeah, I completely agree. And just I think like when you're questing, especially a lot of the ways the quests are built is like you'll get a quest hub and it's like kill these guys, then kill this guy at the end. And if you were just to fly over and kill the guy at the end, then you'd have to go back and kill all the guys anyway. And it really hurts how they like kind of do quest progression.
Yep.
So, and honestly, I'm gonna say something here that is probably not too popular with people that really like flying mounts, but I think flying mounts, it's one of those things that's a massive like standard of living increase, like an ease of increasing the game. But I
Mm-hmm.
think overall it's hurt a lot of the game,
Yes.
and World PvP has been one of the things. Even was it Chris Metzen that mentioned, he's like, yeah, we didn't fully consider all the ramifications of having flying mounts.
Right?
That led to the swooping gank.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that one.
Swooping. Oh, and it's worse with druids. I think druids are the biggest culprits. Oh, hey, let me just pwn you for a second. If I'm gonna lose, that's okay because I just got flight form and I'm gone.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, I don't have a cast bar for my mount. Poof, I'm gone.
Right? Yeah. Oh, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, whatever. So I think we're in agreement that no flying. We're pretty okay with that. And they said they're gonna bring back flying, so
Yeah.
you'll be able to fly everywhere except the new PvP island. So
Yep. We're gonna get it later. So patience is a virtue. People, players, everyone, everywhere. It's a
exactly.
virtue.
So next topic up that I didn't really talk about in the last one is the new models.
Eee.
How do you
So
feel?
excited.
So I'm guessing you like the new models.
I do. They're really cool. Although I will say the gnome male looks kind of creepy, but whatever. I don't play a gnome. I'm sorry for anyone who does play a gnome because every time I look at you, I'm gonna be like, ugh, you're creepy looking. But no, they're really great. I didn't see very many at BlizzCon. They didn't have a whole lot on display. But they had the orcs, the dwarves, and the gnomes from what I saw. And they look amazing. Amazing.
And to be fair, no one really likes gnomes anyway.
Oh my goodness. There's going to be a lot of people who say, Aggathon, you're crazy. I am a gnome. Or something along
I,
those lines.
I am I am racist against short races. I will flat out admit that. And it stems from EverQuest actually, because when I played EverQuest, the best class or the best race to roll a ranger with was a wood elf, and then halfway through they allowed halflings to be rangers, and they gave them their best racial bonuses.
Oh
Like,
boy.
like what? Like, they weren't rangers. Now you make them rangers, and now they have the best racial bonuses. Ever since then, I've just hated short races.
For shame.
Yeah.
So you don't like goblins either then?
Not so much. Dwarves I tolerate just because they're so goddamn adorable. Like,
And they drink a lot. How could you not love that?
amen to that. But
See?
they're just like so bubbly, and they're like, we're gonna cast spells, and we're gonna cast
Yes.
more spells.
Oh, dwarves are awesome.
Dwarves are pretty awesome. And I love the new dwarf model. Like, I think the dwarf model is probably one of the best ones to show
I
like
agree.
how much your character is still going to look the same, but it's
Hmm.
just going to be better. And I really
Yes.
like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. When they like back, to use the gnomes for example, because this is the one I remember the most vividly. They put up like side by side the old gnome and the new gnome, and he still had this like giant nose, and like a lot of the features were still incredibly the same, but they just looked so like the polygon count is higher, and they just look absolutely amazing. I can't stress it enough, but they're really great. And for anyone who's worried about your character not looking like your character anymore, you fear not. You will be delightfully surprised.
And one of the things I think I like, and this is probably the most shown in the orcs, is actually like that orcs before, like, yeah, they had muscles and stuff and it's all good,
Mhm.
but now like the orcs that are ripped, like you can see like their veins in their arms and
Yes.
stuff. Like the amount of detail that's added is really awesome.
Hmm.
I've also heard that they're really going to try and work on facial expressions, which
Oh,
some undead people may not be happy because a lot of people run around and undeads don't really have faces. Like they're missing like this part.
Right?
So could be interesting to see what they do with that. But I think it's cool. Like in the trailer of this show, it looked like it wasn't like a lot of the first trailers aren't really cinematics. They use a lot of like the in-game polygons and
Mhm.
characters. And the Iron Orcs, like the orc would be like rah, and you like see the whole. It's not just like rah. It's like the whole
Yeah.
facial expression moving
Mhm.
around, and that level of detail I think is what WoW needs. Like when WoW first came out, WoW came out at about the same time that EverQuest 2 came out,
Mhm.
and EverQuest 2 had much better graphics. Like
Mhm.
it was far more realistic. It was honestly almost kind of like more what WoW's shooting for now, and like the polygon count and how everything looked and sort of the beauty of it. But
Mhm.
I don't really think that that's on two levels. That's not what makes an MMO.
Exactly.
The how your character, it doesn't, like, it's a fantasy game, it doesn't have to be realistic, it has to
Right.
be playable, and
Yes.
the way your character looks matters. But a lot of the games where like you could like do ultra feature changes in the face and stuff, I've always
Yeah.
kind of been like, too much customization, I don't really care about that.
Yes.
And maybe that's just a really bad, like, I'm not an artist, so I can't make faces look right in the first place.
Mhm.
So
Some
like,
of it's nice, if you're like really into screenshotting during the game and like telling stories through the game and stuff like that, which is great. But I mean, I agree with you. If it takes me longer than half an hour to create a character, then there's something wrong with that. I want to play the game. I don't want to pick my left side highlights and then my right side highlights. Like that's just, it's too much.
yeah, and I think the feel of the game is much more,
I agree.
the atmosphere that the game creates because of the models is much more important, and that's one of the
Yes.
things that I've loved about WoW is it's kept this WoWish, almost cartoony compared to
Hmm.
other games' atmospheres. But you know what? It works,
It
and
does.
and that's why I love the new models so much. Um, but here's a question: why didn't they show any female models?
Oh, that made me so mad because Blizzard is sexist. They're probably not, but they're really not. They even talked about the sexism during the Warcraft movie panel, and I know we're not going to talk about that, but someone had asked a question about their lack of female protagonists and et cetera, et cetera. But I'm gonna go with I'm gonna put my money on they didn't display any female models because they probably haven't done them yet. We'll go with that. So
You don't think it's because they're giving them all breast implants?
that would be crazy if they did. I mean, like, have you ever seen a goblin's boobs? The goblins have huge boobs. And and
As a matter of
then
fact, no, I have not been going out and
you
checking out.
should look.
Remember, I hate short races, so.
Right. I had a goblin named Double D's once just because can I say that?
Well, you are
Um
remedeez, so.
yeah, so most of my characters have EEZ at the end of their name. Um so yeah, I had a goblin shaman named Double D. So of course I had to
Nice.
get it name changed because someone had to ruin my fun and report my name as
Well,
being
that's no
offensive.
fun.
I don't know how that's offensive, but apparently it is to somebody. But no, yes, that would be crazy if like all of a sudden like I can't think of which race has the smallest boobs. Probably
Night elves?
blood elves or not, yeah, maybe night elves.
The
So
elves kind of
like
have small.
next thing we know, night elves are like walking around and they're just like packing like big guns. That would be so crazy.
That would be kind of
I'm probably
crazy.
gonna get so much hate mail for saying all of this stuff.
So, next thing that I didn't talk about much, I talked a little bit about the stat changes in the last episode, but what I kind of like grazed over was the fact that there's not going to be any reforging in the next expansion.
What?
So, what do you think? Ask Mr. Robot's going to go out of business?
I'm worried about them. I thought about that when I saw the panel. The first thing I thought of was, oh my God, asked Mr. Robot. Like, It's Ask Mr. and Mrs. Robot if anybody knows the people who run the website. But no, yeah, it's weird because like we have these people who write add-ons just for and fan sites just for statting your characters for rating and like what's going to happen to them? I mean, obviously there's a reason reforging is going away because we don't have hit or expertise anymore. We're not or we won't have that anymore.
Hmm.
And then we get these new stats. But what if you're like, I don't know, I play a Holy Paladin and all I want is mastery. I don't care for anything else other than my basic stats, intellect and spirit. What if I get all this gear that has too much haste on it? What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be weird. It's definitely gonna take some time to adjust to not being able to make your gear the way you want it to. But
You're
hopefully,
you're gonna not steal the gear from those rep pallies. That's what you're gonna do.
well, I can't use Ret Pally gear anyways, and my off spec is Prot.
Well,
So,
you will be able to in the next expansion
oh, right,
because
yes,
your
because we have
main stat
the
changes.
dynamic gear. That's right. So
Yeah.
when I'm tanking, um, then my character's gear will be all tanky gear.
Yep. So, in the vein of new stats, like hit and expertise are going away. I think it's actually because of sites like Ask Mr. Robot and add-ons like Reforge Lite that now all of a sudden, like, reforging doesn't really matter. Like, no one really cares about. Like, what
Right.
reforging has done is made it so that, oh, I don't care that this has haste on it because I'll just reforge most of it away. And
Exactly.
they waddle up to the reforged master and they go spec elemental shaman show calculate show reforge.
Yeah.
They just press four buttons and they're reforged optimally.
Yeah. It
So
is crazy.
I think that reforging is almost like I really I really kind of disregard arguments that are like, oh, the ceremony of the experience of reforging and stuff, or like
Whatever.
the ceremony of respecking and stuff. No, you're pressing a couple buttons. Like, there's no ceremony.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this was one of the first steps of just going, yeah,
Mhm. And I
changing
think
things doesn't matter.
during the panel they brought up something that really kind of like hit home with me. I'm on a 25 player raid team.
Hmm.
And so, okay, we kill a boss, five or six people get loot, and then if any of that is upgrades for people, okay, can we run back to the instance or run back somewhere where we can mount and bring the guy who has the reforging mount, of course, obviously, because not everybody has one.
Hmm.
And so we can all equip all of our new gear and reforge. And this takes like 20 minutes. In a 25 player raid, 20 minutes is time is precious, friend.
Yeah.
Time is money, friend. So like we don't have that time to be wasting when you're trying to wrangle 25 people to kill bosses. So
Ex-
it's reforging does take a lot of time, even out of a normal mode raiding
exactly.
team.
And if you happen to have like the gems and enchants on you,
Oh God.
then you can just gem and enchant real quick, but then you don't have
Exactly.
to worry about like getting a reforged mount or anything.
Yep. Yep.
So I do like this in the sense that like right now, and actually for ever since gems were implemented pretty much, whenever I got a piece of gear, unless we had like a 10-minute break in raid where I could hearth back to Shrine of Two Moons or whatever and then do all my stat changes and reforging, I just held on to that piece until the end of the raid. But
Yep.
I think
That's
you're
right.
right. Like, this enables you to actually use a piece of gear upgrade in the same raid that you got it. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty okay with that.
Yeah. Me too. I'm looking forward to that because it's less management for me running my raid team.
Exactly. So, how do you think they talked a little bit about tertiary stats, sort of new stats to hit to remove hit and expertise, and the two that they mentioned that might be a thing are run speed and cleave. How do I feel like these are too circumstantial of stats to really like gear for and gym for. What do you think
Right.
about these new stats?
Yeah, it's weird because, we don't have reforging. So if we decide that we don't want all of this run speed, we can like there's nothing we can do about it. Which is fine. Run speed is beneficial to any class. Cleave is a little iffy to me because what if it's an encounter where there isn't anything to cleave? Like one boss, no ads, no anything, wouldn't that be kind of a wasted stat, in my opinion? What are you cleaving if there's nothing to cleave? So why do I have this as a stat on my gear? So I'm really worried about seeing how cleave is going to play out.
I completely agree with you on that. And even on fights where there are ads, like for example, Heroic Malkarak, there's ads up for a little bit, but like they die almost instantly. It seems like having, even if you are cleaving to those for just a few seconds, like yeah, it's technically optimal for when those ads are up, but it's like
Right.
not even 10% of the fight when you could easily just use an ability that cleaves. So who cares?
Yeah. I'm a mage. I don't want cleave. I don't know. I can't.
It,
I could see it being really awesome for healers though.
yeah, that's what I was gonna
Cleave
mention.
heals sounds awesome.
Well, and I think maybe they were trying out the whole cleave idea with the trinkets that cleave in
Right.
Siege of Orgrimmar, and
Mm.
it kind of surprises me because I don't think, except for healers, that the cleave trinkets are really good, except for a few select fights.
Right.
So
Exactly.
do you think maybe we'll have like cleave trinkets that we switch in and out per fight, or
Honestly, what I think that, and this is just me going out on a whim, that the whole new raid tier is going to have more cleave fights. I think we're going to see more ads, more mechanics where there is more than one boss, whatever it may be. But if they're going to give us a stat that gives us cleave, then it better be worth my time, Blizzard. It better be for a reason.
yeah, I completely agree with that. Um, so the next topic to talk about a little bit here is number of raid bosses. So in Mists of Pandaria, we have seen bigger and bigger tiers. In Cataclysm, the first tier was, if you did in heroic, it was 13, right, and then 12 non-heroic, because
Mm,
only
yeah.
Syndragosa, because it was
I think it was 14.
14 and then 15. Yeah, because it
Yeah.
no, because it was
Um,
2 in Throne, then it was 6 in
Bastion of Twilight.
and then 4. So it's 12 and then 13.
Was there only four in Blackwing Descent? No
No, no,
way.
there's 6 in Blastwing Descent and then 4 in Bastion.
Oh, four in Bastion of Twilight. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, five if you count Syndragosa.
Yeah, so that's the 13 on heroic or whatever.
Okay.
But that
You're
was the
right.
that was the biggest tier by leaps and bounds. Like
Yeah.
Firelands was 7 and Dragon Soul was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, I
Ridiculous.
pronounced that wrong. It's Dragon Soil,
Dragon Soil. I've never heard that before, shockingly.
because basically Blizzard soiled their pants.
Oh. I
I'm
don't
sorry, but that
think
was
Dragon Soul was that bad.
it was awful. It was terrible. I hated that raid instance.
Some of it was fun. Heroic Spine of Deathwing was fun in
Well,
content
I
pre-nerfs.
yeah, I was gonna say I only did it like at the 13% nerf or the 30% nerf, so
Oh boy.
I was like, this fight is just pointless.
That was the only tier during all of Cataclysm that I was on a heroic rating team, and it was a blast. So a lot of people hate Dragon Soul, but I had fun during Dragon Soul. So
Well, one of the things that kind of pissed me off about Dragon Souls, I did like cutting edge heroic rating on it for a little bit. Like the guild I was in at the time killed up to Ultraxion before there was even a 5% nerf.
nice.
But once that 5% nerf came in, I don't think Blizzard realized when they were doing the tiered nerfing how much 5% mattered. Like
Yeah, it's
bef-
pretty big.
before the 5%, like we our first kill was literally while he was casting his enrage to just
Oh,
like kill everyone. Like it was like a
wow.
second left on that cast that we killed him. And
Wow.
everyone had to be perfect. Nobody could die. Had to be
Right.
absolutely flawless. Then when
Push
the
your button.
yeah, then and we killed that the week before the 5% nerf, so we didn't have that much more gear between the 5% nerf and after that. When the 5% nerf hit, somebody died at like 10%, and we killed it with like 14 seconds to spare. So like
Yeah,
it was a huge gap.
it
Like
got outrageous.
yeah, and so I felt like the tier decreases really trivialized the content, and I am so glad that they didn't do that in Mists of Pandaria.
I agree.
Like,
They did a little bit with Mogashan Vaults, didn't they? They nerfed it a little bit, right?
I think those were like targeted nerfs, though, right?
I don't remember. It's
Uh,
been so long. It
I
feels
don't
like
know.
it's been forever
It
ago
does. It really
since
does.
we were raiding Mogashan Vaults, and
When was that? Like last January?
yeah, it was almost a year or one year or two. I don't even know. The years are just like World of Warcraft.
It just sort of bleeds together. It's
Yeah, yeah.
look, I've
How
been doing
long have
this
you
since
been
I was in
playing?
college
Just
or
out
high
of
school.
curiosity. How long have you been playing? Are you a Wrath baby?
No, I've been playing
Uh,
since vanilla.
oh, you've been playing since vanilla. I'm so
Yeah.
jealous. I've been
Um,
watching people play since vanilla, but I haven't been playing vanilla myself.
I started my senior year of high school. So what happened was I played
So
EverQuest.
what happened was all great stories start with that, by the way.
No, it's so here's what happened. I was playing EverQuest with my friends since 8th grade. Like my friend Marty dragged me into EverQuest, and I just got hooked on MMOs, and I loved EverQuest. And I rated like it wasn't like top tier, but it was like close to top tier. And
Mm.
that was back when you had those like a main raid was 72 people, and a lot of guilds had multiple raids in their raids. So like some guilds would raid with like 180 people. Like
Oh
it
my
was absurd. So if you're bitching that 20 people is a lot of people, try raiding with 180 people, okay?
Oh, that's crazy.
So yeah, it was absolutely insane. And the problem with that is because you could have multiple because there was no instancing in EverQuest. Everything was a world boss. Everything. Until like there was some like right when WoW came out, they released like a dungeon patch that like was instanced raiding and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
like like guilds had packs to raid, like to cycle when they got to raid stuff. So like so one guild would raid Vishan Temple this week, and then the next guild got it the next week. And if you didn't raid, then you got bumped on the list and all the way to the end. Like it was serious
Wow.
business.
This is
Um,
serious business.
yeah, absolutely it was. And so like rating and EverQuest is so much different. Anyways, I'm getting off on a huge tangent here. But so I rated EverQuest. I finally quit. I was like playing like the cool kid games. I was playing like Counter Strike and shit like that. And I was like,
Yes.
I'm done with MMOs. I'm broke. I'm free. I'm free from the MMO addiction. And then all my friends like picked up WoW and they were playing vanilla and they were like doing dead mines and stuff. They're like,
Play with
and they're
us.
like, dude, WoW is so fun. Come play with us. Come play with us.
That's
This
funny.
was this is what I said verbatim. I said no. I'm not going to play WoW. I'm never going to play WoW because if I play WoW, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to play WoW. I'm going to get really good at the game. I'm going to be addicted. I'm going to get better than all of you. And then you all are going to quit and I'm going to keep playing WoW for years and years and years. And
And did that
and
happen?
I am almost a decade later, I am still playing this goddamn game.
That's
They're like,
hilarious.
no, no, it's not as addicting as EverQuest. You'll be fine.
That's funny.
So here I am.
So you're a vanilla baby.
Now I'm an asshole with a webcam, like actually talking about it on the internet. So
That's funny. I mean, like my brother played. You and I are the same age. We've already,
mhm,
discussed that. My brother played, and when I was in high school, I watched him play. And then I went to college, and then I joined the military. And anyways, so I didn't. I mean, I've known about World of Warcraft. I've known actually more than people who say, "Oh yeah, I know what World of Warcraft is." But I knew a lot about it because my brother was a raider. He
mhm.
raided in vanilla. I watched him kill Ragnaros way back in the day. I just didn't play. I wasn't interested in it. I was only interested in it to watch my brother. It's how we bonded. We're weird. We're nerds, and we bond over video
Nerd
games.
families,
Yeah.
yeah.
And on top of that, we were both living in our parents' house, so that would have been mom and dad paying for a subscription, and I was too young or whatever.
Hmm.
So I didn't start playing until I was like 20, roughly 20 or 21.
Oh, so are
It
you
was
a
like
Wrath baby?
yeah, it was during Wrath of the Lich King when I first started playing.
You guys are so
However,
spoiled.
I did make my very first character during Burning Crusade, but it was on my brother's account.
Gotcha.
I was like, "Oh, I want to play a blood elf." I'm like 18, 19 years old, and they were like super cute and all that stupid stuff. So, yeah, but I didn't get my own account until Wrath of the Lich King, and I played Horde and I played a Tauren Paladin. That was my one of my very first characters ever. So,
Nice.
yes.
Yeah, you definitely. I feel like you missed out not being able to raid. Sorry about that. Uh, I should edit that out, but I'm not
It's
going
all
to.
good. No, you should totally keep that in because that
Um,
is hilarious.
but the I, I feel like the Burning Crusade for me, and again, I admit that I'm kind of like wearing rose tinted glasses when I'm
Right.
talking about Burning Crusade because when I was doing the bulk of my raiding in Burning Crusade, the stuff that I remember the most was a guild that I formed with some of my closest real life friends, and we had like 9 of us. 'Cause, let me see if I can remember. Because it was me, Vlad, Taylor, Nate, Mark, Tori, Ryan, Tommy. Although I don't think he actually ever raided with us, but he was the reason like we had rolled on that server, so we still played with him.
Mhm.
Um, who else was it? Um, but then we met a whole bunch of other people. So it was like Ryan's friend Laura that my friend Vlad ended up dating for a while, and then, um, just so like right there, that's 9 people that were like friends that we raided with, and so like we had like a Tarzan group almost right there, and we
Nice.
found other raiders, and like as a guild, we all re-rolled like mid TBC. Oh, Adam and Karina. That's 9 and 11.
There you
How could I
go.
forget about Adam and Karina? But so we raided with them, and we started at Karazhan, and we raided all the way through Sunwell.
Wow.
Now, in my Sunwell was all post 3.0, but we cleared it before Wrath of Lich King came out. So,
Nice.
um,
Congrats.
but
That is a feat of strength.
it 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 really is. It is actually a feat of strength. But uh, and we had just such a blast because we had such camaraderie. We had such a great guild. So, but I feel like the community that happened in the Burning Crusade, like the game was about community back then. And I felt like
Right.
in Wrath of the Lich King with looking for dungeon, and then in Kata with looking for raid, like I felt like the community started to kind of like fall away, and it was more of like a go do this content. Like it felt like an EA game,
Right.
and and I have
I
to
get
say,
it though.
yeah, and I have to say I'm so excited that you get to see Warlords of Draenor because I feel like with things like flex rating and with things uh,
Required grouping
yeah,
and
like required grouping and stuff like that. I feel like, and I really hope that they do like mythic 5 mans,
hmm
like
kind of
hard
like when they
content.
did heroic scenarios. You have to have a group.
Yeah, but I think mythics 5 mans still need to be like
Really
really
fun.
challenging
Yes.
content, not just having to find a group, but like actually challenging content that when you do it and you finish it, you go, "Hey, I'm gonna friend that guy because he did really
Yes.
awesome in this instance, and I want to run more instances with that person."
I agree.
And
In
that's
fact, I can't even remember the last time somebody in a random group was like, "Hey, can we be friends?" You know what I mean? Like it
yeah.
used to happen all the time. For me anyways, during Wrath of the Lich King, like people would actually friend you when
Hmm.
you did random pickup groups on your server even.
Yeah.
And then it was like Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria. I have not even had that happen.
It has happened for me with flex rating, and that's one of the
Okay.
reasons why I just love flex rating because I feel like you want to find groups that do flex raids and they clear it fast, and it's almost
Yep.
like a second group beyond your raid where you get to
Exactly.
meet other people. And I've met like a lot of people that I'm keeping in touch with now, even though I've now transferred servers because of flex rating, and that's why
Right.
I'm so glad that they're making flex raid like a cornerstone of
I
Warlords of
love
Draenor.
Flex Raid.
And I feel like the Blizz dev team gets this, and they are trying to make it more about the community again,
Hmm.
and and that's why I'm just so excited.
Me too.
So, anyways, now that we've got off on that huge tangent, um, so one of the things we were getting back to number of raid bosses, and it's going to be tiered again. There's going to be 16, which is the most of any tier since.
Oh, that's a good question. When was the last time we had more than or 16?
Because tier 6 was 14, and I think 14 is because that's is that how many are in
How many
Siege
are
of
in
Orgrimmar?
ICC? 12,
ICC is
correct?
12. Yeah, I don't think have we had a 16 raid tier.
Have we had a 16 raid tier? Hey guys, leave us a comment. And
Yes. Have we had this many bosses in a single
I
tier?
don't think we have, but I could be wrong. And people love correcting people, so
That's
maybe there'll
true.
be some comments and they'll be like,
Correct
"Hey
us.
derps, you forgot this raid tier."
Because I'm thinking Molten Core was that 9?
Yes, it's 9.
And then Blackwing, but Blackwing Ware was a different tier. Um,
2.5, right?
no, that was Blackwing Lair.
Or was that like
No,
when
2.5 was
ogres
Encourage.
and oh, okay. I didn't play in vanilla. I only know what
Yeah, Black.
because I know Ubers and that used
So
to
I
be a
so I
raid,
can go through
right?
them: Razor Gore, Veil Strez, uh, Bloodlord, then Firemaw, Flame Gore, Ebon Rock, Chromagus, and then Neff. So that's 8.
Yeah, it's 8.
So yeah, we haven't had this. I don't think we've ever had 16 bosses in a tier. This makes me
Yeah.
excited. I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
that's a lot. It is exciting, and it's two different raids. We have
Mhm.
10 in one and 6 in another.
Mhm.
So it's not like, oh my gosh, an instance with 16 bosses. Could you imagine that? One instance, 16 bosses.
That would be rough.
Yeah.
And it is going to be tiered, so it'll be 10 first, and then or
I don't really know.
I
Is
don't
it six
remember.
first and then I think it's 6 first and then 10.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's 6 first and then 10.
Yeah. So
So
it's kind of like, here you beat 6 bosses, have a cookie. Oh, by the way, there's 10 more.
yeah. And I really like that sort of tiered outlet because like getting 2 instances at once and trying to do all of that at the same time is kind of rough.
I agree. And if,
So
like if you're on a kind of average rate team, I'm so sorry, I keep cutting you off.
that's okay.
But if you're on, kind of like an average normal mode team, you're gonna hit those bosses that are considered walls for most team. And if you hit that wall, so what? Go do the other raid. Go do the other couple first bosses in the other raid.
Hmm.
So it's great. It gives you options, which most people love options.
So something I want to get your opinion on. The Within a single instance, the ability to choose which boss you go to next. Like say, like in Ulduar, you would clear the cat lady. I don't remember what her name was now. But once you killed
Oriya.
what?
Oriya?
Yes, that's who it was. Once you killed her, then you had 4 bosses to choose from to who to
Mhm.
go next. How do you feel about that kind of raid format where you could do any of the next 4 bosses?
To be honest with you, I really like it. However, if I don't have it, I'm not gonna cry. Like it's not that big of a deal to me. Like it's not something I have to have this Blizzard.
Hmm.
I don't feel that way. If we get a linear raid instance, then well, we're doing a linear raid. Like I just want to raid, so whatever they give me, I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I know some people are like, "Oh, I really miss Ulduar," and that was like the best thing ever, where we could choose and do what we want. But does it really matter in the end?
I don't think it does, and I think a lot of times it kind of shakes out to where people are like, "Well, this one's the next easiest. Let's get it
Yes,
so we can get the loot for the next one."
yes. Think
So
about Firelands. People did that
yeah,
with Firelands.
yeah.
Go kill the foot boss. I always call him that because I don't remember his name, but you fight his feet.
What
Um,
was his name?
What is his name? I don't remember. We used to just hit the left foot and call it a day.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, no, and I agree with you on that. Like, and as a raid leader, for me, like the hardest part for me was like, okay, which one do we go to next? Like, as a
Yeah.
raid leader, I want to like, and I realize this is sort of like the lazy way out, but I really like sort of the Siege of Orgrimmar format where it's like, this is the next boss, go kill it now.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I like the targeted specific here, but it seems like a lot of people really like the freedom to. I think the words Blizzard used was like do it organically.
I guess so. A lot of players will say that that's what they want, but when it comes down to it, I would say 75% or more of those players are still the same ones looking up which bosses are the easiest and doing them in the order that all the websites say. So,
Yep.
and I know that's terrible of me to say because I run a website, but it's true though, because during Firelands, that's what my raid team did. What's easier? And should we do Shanox? Should we do the foot boss,
Or
Well,
the
I mean,
spider
according to
boss, or the
Shanox.
flyy boss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that like I said earlier, I think if people can have something to gripe about, they will. And if they don't have something, they'll find something. Oh my
that's
God, no
true.
flying. Ah. Yeah. So,
So one of the other things I want to talk about is loot distribution with more bosses, and that's one of the things I hated about like Firelands and Dragon Soul was that, especially if you were trying to run a 10-man group, which granted that's not going to be a problem in Warlords of
yeah.
Draenor, but the fact was with so few bosses you were limited in your loot tables, and either you had to have bigger loot tables, which meant that the probability of your piece of gear dropping was less,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, and that really hurt 10-man raids because say there's 9 pieces of loot on this loot table, and like 2 of them are spell leather, and you don't have any rusted druids or boomkins,
Right.
then
Well, I guess we're DEing it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and so really more raid bosses allows you to have more loot distribution, and also the other thing that I really like about it is that it gives you loot choices, and I think with getting rid of reforging, this is going to be very, very important. You need
Hmm.
a diverse pieces of loot. Like, yeah, just because that plate piece has like crit and mastery, that may be good for a Fury Warrior in Warlords of Draenor, but that may not be good for a Holy Paladin or Warlords of
Right.
Draenor. So the ability to have varied loot where, yeah, this is the best in slot for this class, I think
Hmm.
really, really helps the more bosses you have. I think that solves a lot of the statistical problems with loot distribution.
Yeah. And then on top of that, if it's a little later in the tier and you're getting loot, but nobody really needs it for their main spec, you can, or maybe like one person needs something for their main spec, but it doesn't drop. So you get all this other gear, but people still need pieces or whatever, then off spec gear because of the dynamic loot. If you equip those gloves and it's not the greatest for your main spec, however, when you switch specs, it's perfectly statted for your off spec. So, even if there's stuff that drops that nobody necessarily needs, you can give it to people who could use it for their off spec because
Exactly.
of dynamic gear.
I completely agree. And again, that's another reason why I'm just so excited for Warlords of Draenor.
I know. I can't wait.
I I honestly, the only time I've ever been this excited for a patch was the Burning Crusade when Illidan, like the cinematic for that, like I still sometimes go back and watch that cinematic because of how
Right.
awesome it was. And just like the "you are not prepared," like
Yeah.
like, but that was all sort of like a lore Warcraft 3,
Hmm.
or was that more Warcraft 2? I don't
It was a
remember,
very
but
pent up
yeah,
raid boss.
it was this lore like adventure thing, and it wasn't
Hmm.
really so much about like the coolness of the mechanics were going to happen. I've never been this excited for the content, the mechanics, how they're going to do things, and that's why I'm just so excited about this expansion.
I agree.
And even like my friend Vlad that I was talking about that I raided with in Burning Crusade, like I even told him about some of the changes, and he was like, "Wow, man! Like these are the changes I've been hoping for. I may actually play this expansion, even though I haven't played WoW in like 5 years.
See, maybe it'll get people to come back. I felt that way about Miss Pandaria. I watched BlizzCon when they announced that in 2011, and I just remember, oh my God, I'm gonna have a farm. Like, I know people don't like people will chalk that up to kind of like not that important, but to me at the time, I was a pretty hardcore, relevantly hardcore raider, being able to grow my own stuff daily on my farm. For me, it saved me a lot of time, and I really, really looked like I was so stoked for just that quality of life improvement. So,
Well,
yes.
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
When they announced Mists of Pandaria, I almost just quit right there.
What? Oh, you're one of those disbelievers.
I was, yes. When they released
So what?
this,
Who cares about pandas? There's so much more awesome stuff than
so
pandas.
so my friend Sam, when he saw the trailer for Mists of Pandaria, this wasn't even like a joke. Like he wasn't like kidding with me. He legitimately thought it was a preview for Kung Fu Panda 3.
Oh my gosh.
And then like World of Warcraft came at the end of it, and he was like, "Wait, what?"
So many disbelievers.
Yeah, I
But it was a pretty decent expansion. All pandas aside.
yeah, all pandas aside, Mists of Pandaria turned out to be really really good. And once I like calmed down from like,
Oh
really
my God,
Blizz,
pandas. Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really,
Now, have you
like
ever
once I
played a
calmed down from that.
Pandaren? Like, have
Um,
you ever played one?
so
Here we go again.
yes and no. Um, I got into the beta like really really late.
Okay.
In the beta, I got shit hammered drunk and played a Pandaren up to like level 7 until I literally like passed out of my computer.
Oh my.
And then it was kind of fun, but I just really didn't care. Like I was
It was
just
bad in beta. I
yeah,
didn't like it during beta.
but um I did just recently start a panda. I have a level 19 Pandaren monk
Yay. Oh, and you had
named
to be a monk. That's so cliche. So cliche.
Hey, in my defense, it was because I wanted to both try the new class and the new race. I killed two birds with one stone.
Well,
That's
there you
why.
go. That's what everyone says.
Um,
My
and
monk is a gnome
and
because I don't like gnomes and I don't like monks. So I just put my two least favorite things together and I said someday I'll level this when I can stand to look at it.
and
Okay.
so since I'm Aggathon, my monk is a female Pandaren named Aggathene.
Oh, that's cute. I mean, that's awesome. I shouldn't say
So
cute.
adorable.
That's
All right, so let's move on
okay.
to the bread and butter. We've rambled on about enough. Everyone's waiting. All right, you gonna talk about garrisons yet? You gonna talk about
Yes.
are you gonna talk about garrisons? So give us a sort of an overview of how garrisons are going to work.
An overview. There's so much. So garrisons are kind of Blizzard's answer to player housing in a sense. And it's also what we got with the farm in World of Warcraft, but way better, which I was super excited for. And now garrisons just have blown me out of the water. Basically, you're going to be able to build buildings, and every building that you get blueprints for is going to be able to do or house different amenities for you, for lack of a better term. And then you can get NPCs called followers, and you can recruit them to kind of work inside of your garrison. You'll be able to send them on missions, and the missions will do all kinds of things. From what I understand, they can get like loot for your characters, if I'm not mistaken. I'm kind of doing this all off the top of my head, so please forgive me and correct me in the comments if I'm way out of base here. But I'm pretty sure that they can get loot for your character, and they can do like crafting and gathering crafting materials. And just like it's gonna be so awesome because you're gonna have this little plot of land, build it the way that you want, and then get whatever you want on it. I mean, within reason and within certain parameters, but NPCs who mine for you, like, how is that not freaking amazing?
So I guess the question sort of becomes the what's on everyone's mind is, so is this going to be required for rating?
See, and a lot of people will say that about farming. Was farming required for raiding? In my opinion, I used my farm daily for a year straight. I was growing my little mining nodes. Yeah, I grew my own mining nodes, and I was a jewel crafter, so I was cutting gems for pretty much everybody on my raid team, and we were going through content so fast for a while there that it was everyone needs new gems constantly, So if I can have a garrison and I can have these kinds of things, I can have somebody to mine for me. Is it necessary for raiding? No, because you can still do it the old-fashioned way. If you want to, go fly around in mine nodes all day long. Be my guest, but I'm gonna be that lazy person with the NPC who's out mining for me.
But if you have NPCs that can go do missions for you, they can get you gear. So if you can have NPCs that you can send off that go get you gear, and
It's
then you
true.
can do raids also, or like dungeons and LFR or whatever also to get the
Hmm.
preliminary gear to raid. And the other thing they've talked about is like buildings giving your character attributes. So like if you build
Right.
the Tower of Rapunzel, then you get more crit or something.
Right.
So if these really affect your character in terms of how it can perform in raids, I feel like this becomes less of a cool little thing you can do to like a everyone has to have a garrison.
Yeah, if you're
Like
not doing it, you're a
like
bad raider, right?
this is your app. Show us a
Hmm.
screenshot of your garrison.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
No,
to
seriously.
the most hardcore min-maxers, if I can get a crit buff and that's 2% extra damage per second, then that's what I'm gonna do. If that crit buff is the best thing for me ever, and plus food and flasks and everything that I can possibly, yeah, I can totally see min-maxers taking that advantage, yes. And in a sense, it does kind of make it uh maybe not necessary for rating, but highly, incredibly beneficial. So,
So another thing they've talked about is that like you can have an inn at your garrison, and that's how you like meet followers.
mhm,
So do you think it's going to be sort of this like RNG? Oh, I happen to meet this follower that helps my profession the best, and
mhm,
so it become like are people going to start bitching that like oh it's RNG that I happen to find the best follower in my inn this day, or like
probably.
well
Pro-
as you said
Probably.
people are going to find a way to bitch about
Yeah.
anything.
And like it reminds me of when we were in Firelands content, and you remember the Firelands area where we did our dailies, the Molten Front, right? We did dailies out there. There was an achievement for I can't even remember the quest line or the name of the quest, but you would get these three random people to help you. And so you would swoop in and you would kill the molten giants and the elemental things, and it was part of the quest. And it was for the dailies. And every day that you did this, you would get a different selection of those three people. Now there was an achievement to interact with um and it had a huge list of these random chance people that you could get as your NPCs that would help you do these quests. And we're talking people like Nat Pagel could be a chance to be one of your helpers. Just I can't even think of them now because I spent so long hunting this achievement. Like I was going out to the Molten Front way, way after Firelands wasn't even content anymore, just trying to get the random NPCs that I needed to. I think it was like slash wave. Yeah, it was you had to slash wave them. So you're doing the quest and you would get, oh my God, Nat Pagel, let me slash wave Nat Pagel while you're with me this today. And yeah, so stuff like that is really frustrating because I did that for a year straight, trying to get one stupid achievement. And it's really annoying because you're waiting on RNG to be in your favor.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know how. if it's going to take people a year to get the adventurers that they need or the helpers that they need. But
That's
that
true.
would be insane. Like, yeah.
So, so my next question, and this was something that was introduced. So let me say up front, I have never cared two craps about player housing in any MMO ever.
Yeah, me neither.
Any MMO I've played that's player housing, I've been like,
Meh.
cool, I get to put artwork on this wall.
Yeah, uh
Who
it's
cares?
so
So I think if they're going to do a player housing answer, I think this is the way to do it.
mhm,
But in EverQuest, one of the things they did was actually like guild housing,
which
where
I like the idea of much better than player housing.
so why do you think they went with player housing instead of guild housing?
I have no idea. Maybe because there's kind of already a system implemented and they worked with what they had, which is kind of what good companies usually do. You know, if you, what you have isn't broken, why fix it? So maybe they already had the systems implemented and ready to be used, and so it was, I guess, less work. And that's calling Blizzard lazy. I apologize. But I don't know. It could have been just a whole lot more work for guild housing. You'd think they would have to program so many lines of code to only allow people into this instanced area because of their guild.
Mhm.
That's because they all share the same guild versus we already have stuff to phase and instance singular people. So I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think you're right. I also kind of think that the experience and the perk system from Kata may be a reason why they're not doing guild housing because like in Kata you had the cauldrons that you could drop
Right.
and
Which I
you know,
miss so much.
me too. But there's all this other stuff that if you tried to make a new guild and you didn't already have it, it took a long time to farm up.
Mhm.
So if you're in a guild that has this really complex garrison and then you want to start a new guild, like you have to
You would lose out a lot.
redo all of
Yeah.
that. And then how do you recruit if you say, "Yeah, we have a level 2 garrison."
Yay! Oh, I totally know what you mean because we restarted our guild in mid Dragon Soul, and we
Oof,
were trying to
that's late.
recruit for that. Yeah, so we were trying to recruit for that. It was me and like four other people, and it was a nightmare. We didn't even fill up a raid team until late the first tier of Mists of Pandaria, and then that fell apart really quickly. So yeah, guilds are a rough thing nowadays. Unless you are in something incredibly solid, guilds are rough. So I could see that being also a reason that there is no guild housing.
Fair enough. So, are you mad that they're not doing like race specific buildings?
A little bit, yeah. It'd be, I mean, I play a Draenei, so and every race in the game has, unique architecture, and I think it would be totally badass to live in Draenei stuff. But I guess it's gonna look all, I don't know, human-y? Is that a word? I don't know.
Wait, your
So
alliance?
I do play
I,
Alliance now. I when I first played World of Warcraft, I
I,
played
I don't
Horde.
know if I can talk to you.
Oh,
I actually started alliance and defected to horde.
I started Horde and I played Horde until the very end of Heart of Fear, Tears of Endless Springs, and then I switched to Alliance. So I actually have way more playtime as Horde. Yeah, like I said, my paladin used to be a Tauren paladin. Remedeez is a Tauren paladin. Yeah, and I was totally a female Tauren paladin. They do exist, everyone. They do exist. Yes.
That's kind of funny. So, I guess there's a lot of info on garrisons out right now, but I still feel like there's kind of in flux as to what exactly they're going to do. So I guess we may have to
Yeah.
revisit this once the beta finally comes out and
Yeah.
see what they do with it. Um, anyways,
I wish there was more information. All I know is what we know, and they told us a lot, but it wasn't a lot, you know? Like, I
yeah.
mean, I know there's going to be like the ability to customize the way it looks and If you want details, I think you can only have 5 buildings on
Ooh,
your garrison.
only
Um,
5.
yeah, and then in Draenor, the new continent that we'll be on, there are only a few areas that you can, I guess, build your garrison. You can't just build it anywhere you want. So there's like
Mm.
specific instanced areas that you can pick to have your garrison. So like if I don't know if Shadow Moon Valley is one of those places and that's where you want to quote unquote live, then you can plant your garrison in that area of Shadow Moon Valley. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
So where do you want to build your garrison?
Um, if I knew off the top of my head where all of the areas were, I could answer that. But if we're gonna go off of I'm just gonna go off my memory of all the zones in Draenor. I think I would probably pick Nagrand, but I know a lot of people are probably like really sold on living in Nagrand. It's Nagrand. It's gorgeous and awesome.
I think I want to go to Shadowman Valley.
Shadow Moon Valley, yeah, it's all creepy and dark and
It was
moody.
creepy and dark and moody. Now it's special and twilighty.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I heard it's like super purple and they have all kinds of. I'm sure we have some on our website. I don't even know, but like all of the screenshots and concept art. That's the word I'm looking for. It's really late, so words are hard, but concept art for Shadow Moon Valley looks really cool. It's all purpley and awesome. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps up this episode of Aggathon's Rage Bar. You can see remedeez on blizzmaster.com, and you can also you run the Blizzmaster, the at Blizzmaster Twitter,
I
correct?
do. Yes.
And then you
At
also have your own.
Blizz_master.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then you have your own Twitter also, which is.
At Remedeezy, Remedeezy.
So add her on Twitter, y'all.
Yeah, give me a follow. I talk nerdy all day long, so.
All right, and as always, you can follow me at Aggathon, and if you have any questions, you can also send me a tweet, or you can follow me, or you can go to TankSpot and send a private message to the username Aggathon. And as I said before, this since there's 2 episodes this week, there won't be any episodes next week since I will be on vacation. I will finally get a break from it all. So, send me your questions and let's talk some more BlizzCon once I get back from vacation. So, with that, that's us signing out, and we will see you all next week. Don't forget to go to blizzmaster.com and check us all out.